Welcome back. It's the Sphinx Gamer Podcast. It's lovely night here today. I know we were off last week, but we're back, and hopefully we're sounding good.
No, I think we're sounding great.
Are we feeling great?
I'm feeling great. Wonderful weather this evening.
Oh yeah, it is always a paradise here in the desert.
That's right. That's right. Roasting on one side, freezing to death on the other side.
And I hate freezing. I hate it. Yeah. That's why I moved.
One of these days, I'm going to move to Europe so I can get an all-over trucker's tan.
Boom. Well, welcome, folks, to the third episode. Leah has brought a treasure trove of PC games. I'm looking over to my left here. We've got a giant blue box, and out of the fear of having this episode last hours and hours, we decided to pick out a few games to go over, and these are actually going to be pictures of what we go over on the site there on sphinxgamer.com for you to take a look, whether you're listening to this someplace on the interwebs. I hear this podcast has been syndicated in many places. But, oh yeah. So, to start off the episode, I know that our last episode, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about awesome games done quick.
Oh, yeah.
And they ended. They had their week. And it was a fantastic event watching them here and there, as I'm sure you spent some time watching.
Absolutely. It's been reported towards the end, their sort of ticker for their donations broke a little bit, and so they couldn't completely confirm it, but they're reporting well over $1.5 million to prevent cancer. So
that is incredible.
How many times can you say a gamer community came together and actually pulled through that type of money that will undoubtedly create a change in the general community for the better. So it can only give good stereotypes towards the gaming community. And so I'm very proud of everyone who stayed up in the reaches of the night, and Robert's very proud too. I hope you all got to catch some of the wonderful glimpses of it. And Robert and I were talking about what our favorite moment of Awesome Games Done Quick 2015 was, and it just so happened we were mutual in our thoughts. Why don't you explain
the Tazbot? The Tazbot. That was incredible. I was so glad they brought it back later on during their runs. It was a very interesting moment. It shows you Skynet might be on the way.
Really, let's hope our SNESs don't become sentient. But the ability to hack a Super Nintendo, then hack Pokemon Red, then hack a Super Game Boy, then hack the Super Nintendo, then hack into the Twitter chat box for Awesome Games Done Quick. I don't know if this was secret and he knew about it, or if everyone was blindsided about it. But hey, was anyone in the chat? Why don't you leave a comment and tell us what happened while you were there?
Oh yeah, I like the part when Taz was talking to us humans, trying to get the Twitch chat to what were they trying to do? Trying to get it to.
We're trying to patch through.
Yeah, trying to patch through and chat, and the whole thing was just pretty interesting.
I was flabbergasted, but I'm sure this is very easy stuff for a not so tech savvy person like myself.
I'm in the same boat.
But tech savvy that I am is in, of course, obscure video games. It's kind of a hobby of mine. Sometimes I buy and sell video games, so it's kind of like a mad money sort of thing. I enjoy it very well, and so I brought in some obscure games, and I let Robert here pick out some that he has some questions about, and maybe you have some questions about it too. The experience of when it first came out, because obviously the situations for each game is much different right now. So learn something with us, won't you?
Oh yeah. Like I said earlier, we had to pick out a few, otherwise, for Leah,
we could go on
for hours. And quite a few over I know pretty well, but some of them I know a little bit about, as others I don't. I think we're going to start with the first one of those, Ultima Online. I mean, I hear that you spent lifetimes in this game. You had a fantastic time playing, exploiting, doing whatever. I played a little bit of the single-player Ultima. I played Ultima 7 and a little bit of that, but I don't recall my time in Ultima Online. I don't think I did. I think I might have passed it on, but you certainly did not.
Well,
Please.
you certainly didn't miss a lot after the Second Age, otherwise known as T2A. To some, that was the golden years of Ultima Online. And it wasn't until Renaissance did the crash really happen, when Origin really took a dump on the players. What ended up happening was they split each facet, or world, so to speak, into two separate worlds, one of them called Trammel and one of them called Felucca. Felucca was essentially the normal world, where you could PvP and scam people and steal from people and that sort of thing. Trees were dead, and it had kind of a neat look to it. But it essentially doubled the housing space, so the housing market crashed. And Trammel ended up being nicknamed Care Bear Land, because in Care Bear Land, you can't be stolen from, you really can't be taken advantage of. If you're taken advantage of, the GMs would intervene and step in, and it would whine, and then you would get in trouble, thrown in jail, and well, after saying, I must consider my sins for 2 hours, you might get lucky and get a 3-hour jail sentence. So really, that was the day when people decided, hey, I don't think I'd like to pay for this game anymore. And it has actually kind of a sort of a poetic finale, if you will, that gamers really haven't learned today in MMOs. We sit and we complain about the changes of our precious game, and instead of doing something about it, we seem to tighten up and just take it, especially with pre-ordering games that are very broken and not getting our money's worth. This was the same situation with Ultima Online Renaissance, and a lot of gamers learn their lesson, but old habits die hard. And these days, a lot of gamers haven't.
I think these MMO players who are used to the constant updates and things being broken and things like that are very prepared for the state of gaming that we are in today with the digital eyes and stuff like that. But you can tell just how obscure this thing is with the American Online logo.
That's right. I'm sure there was some sort of keyword, like you had to type in UOR or something just to get it running. I didn't have Ultima Online, America Online at the time. So I could be talking your heads off all day, but I do actually have two interesting stories that we decided to slip in.
She's got stories, folks.
We got stories with Ultima Online Renaissance. I could probably do a whole category on Ultima Online Renaissance.
But just for clarification, if I may ask, Ultima Online Renaissance, is that the name of the expansion, or is that like a version name?
This is the day that Ultima Online died. This is when the two facets appeared. This is when Care Bear Land started. And you really couldn't take advantage of exploits anymore. To show you how lax the exploits were, when Ultima Online was leaving its beta phase, Richard Garriott, the man who literally dresses up like a Lord King in public, love him to death. I believe it was the last day of beta, and the populace who participated in it went to Lord British's castle. Richard Garriott, also known as Lord British in game, crashed. He timed out. Well, when he logged back in, he forgot to set his invincibility timer. Okay. One of the players who was there, I don't actually remember his name, but he was a thief. During the event, there were no guards. So the gentleman went up to barrels, which happened to have scrolls of firewall in them. He steals a scroll of firewall, casts it on Richard Garriott. Richard Garriott, a.k.a. Lord British, thinking his invulnerability flag is up, stands there and takes it and ends up dying. Now, the King of all Britannia, of course, did not work on his skills very well, so you can imagine how weak he was dying from a simple fire field. But this was ultimately the biggest troll in online gaming history, killing the creator of Ultima Online in Ultima Online.
See, this is what happens when you have bad internet. America Online, folks. This is when AOL died. That's a shame. What else?
Well, I have one more. There was a little glitch that was discovered where you could teleport on top of on top of rooftops, flat rooftops. In order to do this, it was a simple macro. You had to cast teleport. You had to run outside, in which the roof would appear. Okay. Then you would have to run back inside, cast teleport on the spot you wanted to teleport. Okay. It would set a target, but you couldn't actually go because you were clicking on the roof. Okay. So then when you ran back outside and cast a teleport and then hit the last target macro, you would appear on top of the roof. Well, at the time, this was a relatively harmless exploit, and so nobody thought anything about it. But one gentleman got on top of Britain Bank, the northeast corner, and you know where this is if you're an Ultima Online player. And he flagged himself as a criminal in the top right corner. And 2 guards appeared to kill him, but they could not appear because they appeared in the northeast corner. So they essentially appeared on the ground. The guards were in a constant state of attack while this guy was up at the corner of the bank. Huh. And the thing about attacking is when you do a mischievous act or a malicious act, you're flagged as a criminal. That flag runs out after so many minutes. Now, guards are blue or innocent. Their names are blue. They're allowed to attack malicious people. But after so many minutes, you're innocent again. But now you have innocent guards attacking an innocent man. Well, the guards attack an innocent man. Suddenly, 4 guards are dispatched to destroy the 2 guards that are attacking the innocent man. But those 4 guards just killed 2 innocent guards. So then suddenly 8 guards appear, then 16 guards appear, then 32 guards appear,
Whoa.
And a constant wave of death of guards popping in, killing each other, and then popping in and killing each other, essentially crashing the server.
Whoa.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why guards cast the lightning bolt spell, in case you ever wondered.
Wow. I wish I saw that. They probably have a video of that someplace.
One video does exist. The exact day that it happened when the servers crashed, I'm not sure if the video exists, but the exploit has been recorded, at least in photographs. I think you can go to markydragon.com, which has been around since the dawn of time, and you can find images of it there, of the multiple guard bridge. Marky Dragon, M-A-R-K-E-E Dragon.
Okay. And so that's the glorious parts of Ultima Online for you, huh?
Oh,
Nice
the glory
memories.
days. We're talking glory as in, like, you have a diamond in a turd and you stick it on a scepter and walk around with it. That was Ultima Online.
Okay. Sounds like fun. Unfortunately, I missed it. I guess we'll move on to another interesting game here. Tell me about the Scud Industrial Evolution. I like the box art on here. What is that thing there? It's a
well, you know, this is Scud, the disposable assassin.
He's a disposable assassin.
Yeah. Now, this in the future, let's say, well, Robert, I don't like you anymore, but I happen to have 50 cents in my pocket. So I go to the disposable assassin machine and I say, I need you to kill Robert, okay? So the disposable assassin goes and kills Robert and then self-destructs. Well, this disposable assassin decides he doesn't want to take any crap. He knows that if he kills the person that he was assigned to murder, he will die himself. So he ends up blowing off the kneecaps of the person he's supposed to assassin, who ends up on life support. The assassin then takes on other assassin jobs in order to pay for the person he was supposed to assassinate's life support. Do you got me here?
Whoa.
So the game is essentially assassinating people that won't cause you to die in order to pay for the life support of the person you tried to kill that won't let you die.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is a trippy story. And this was on PC. I see Windows 95 on here. And what, look at that controller. What is that? Sega Soft.
Oh, yeah, Heat.net. It was kind of like 10 Total Entertainment Network, but fairly obscure. I mean, it was something you had to pay for. On the box, you can see 3 months free. Heat.net premium membership. I
don't even know what that is.
I doubt it even lasted that long, really. The game itself, although with a wonderful soundtrack and visually stunning graphics, is kind of a snore. I suppose had I played the multiplayer, it would have been a lot more interesting. And on a side note, this was based on a very obscure comic book. So we have an obscure game based on an obscure comic book.
Disposable like a diaper. He doesn't give a crap.
Doesn't take any crap. That's right.
Whoa.
We can learn a lot from Scud.
That's interesting. Good tip for the future. So up next we've got Aliens Ate My Babysitter.
Oh my, yes. This is beautiful right here. I mean, this is like your collector's edition Mountain Dew Star Wars cups type gold. You know, you don't want it to explode for any reason. Not that there's any reason why it would explode.
I like the box art. We've got Mike from Monsters Inc. on there, and Starship and.
Well, this is a blorg. The one-eyed creature is called a blorg, okay? And you're on a planet called. I apologize to any blorgs if I misinterpret this. Frivolous Zax. So Commander Keen crash lands on Frivolous Zax in order to save his babysitter because the blorgs are very hungry and they decide, Commander Keen's babysitter looks delicious. But out of the 3 million children in the world, they really should have picked the one who didn't have a spaceship who could come back and get them.
So that's who Molly is. Molly is the babysitter.
Molly is the babysitter.
Okay.
There's actually a problem with this version, this being the 5 1/4 inch version. On the very last level, Molly is behind 4 doors, which you think I have to get the keys to open the doors to get to her.
Yeah.
Well, there was a little problem in the coding, and Molly just walks straight through the doors to you, and then
that's an easy
first
level.
That's the last level. That's the last level, and Molly comes right to you. The reason why this game is so obscure is because it's the 5 1/4 inch floppy version. Now, back in the day, if you got a 5 1/4 floppy version or vice versa, a 2 1/2 inch floppy version, and you didn't have the medium to play it, you could send in a reference card, and they would send you back the corresponding floppies, usually in a little plastic bag, but you wouldn't get your box art back. So most people had the 2 1/2 inch floppy drives at the time. Of course, my family was very poor, and we actually ordered the 5 1/4 floppy disk machine, or excuse me, floppy disk medium in order to play it. So in probably the last 5 years, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but I've only seen Aliens Ate My Babysitter on eBay twice, once in box at 2 1/2 inch floppy, and one in plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, which is what you would receive when you sent in the reference cards. And that one went for about $200, $250.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll see how this one goes.
You're thinking about selling this one?
I'm thinking about it. It's so obscure. I think somebody would really appreciate it to have it in in their collection as much as I have. So.
Well, I like the box art. It reminds me a little bit of Ender's Game with the kid and the guns.
You know, that may be exactly what they were going for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like
Absolutely.
that.
So.
And then up next, let's skip the one on top of later, and let's go to the Dig. This is a LucasArts adventure game.
Okay. Now,
and it's really shiny.
Yes, this one is foil embossed. This is the PC CD-ROM talkie version. It's actually kind of a snore of a game, but it has some beautiful visuals. It has a deep story. It's very understandable. And it's actually very artistic. Really, this game is more of like going along for the ride rather than really immersing yourself into, say, puzzles or that sort of thing. It's more of a, look how beautiful this environment is. Look how beautiful that environment is. At about the same time, Full Throttle had come out, and that one was a lot more popular because you had an actual rock band playing this music for that. You had a lot of big name voice actors like Mark Hamill did a lot of voices in that game. And we all know Mark Hamill as like the Joker in a lot of video games these days. Well, in this one, we did actually have an interesting actor. Anyone who has seen Terminator 2 would recognize the main hero, Commander Boston Lowe, as the T-1000. What's his name again?
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. So Robert Patrick is the voice of the main character, Boston Lowe. If you're interested in just hearing Robert Patrick voice act, he does an excellent job. He does an excellent narration of the story. And I think that he's really what holds your hand into the immersion of the game. Like I said, starts off slow, starts off a snore, but give it a chance, it gets better.
Well, it's a hostile world full of foreboding, uncertainty, and hope. I like it. These boxes, I tell you, I love it. They don't do this anymore.
They don't make it like this anymore. They don't, they're digital downloads. If they come in a box, they're usually a very small box, and people usually throw those away. They really don't do it like this anymore. And anyone who's interested in playing the Dig, without giving anything away, there are 2 endings, so keep that in mind. Figure out how to get the 2 interesting.
Do you know what year this game came out? Because that's pretty cool for an adventure game with multiple endings.
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but it may say it looks like 1995.
Okay.
So myself, I was 11 when this came out.
Okay.
My math isn't very good. 84. So yeah, 11 when this game came out. And yeah, they actually came in hand with Full Throttle. So yeah, most people got Full Throttle rather than the Dig.
Oh yeah, that is pretty cool. So, but we have another one, our last one here of our little games that we popped out. We spoke about this on the last episode a little bit, but this is Anarchy Online. This is actually, is this the original box of when it first came out?
This is the original box. It cost about $70 when it came out, and
you said $70?
Yeah, about $70. And
do you think the game was even worth $70?
Well, I mean, at the time, you're like, you're playing EverQuest 1. You're like, oh my gosh, it's like EverQuest 1, but it's in outer space. Well, when you finally got into the game, if you could get the game to actually run, it was so buggy. There was artifacts everywhere, like, you would have your arms breaking off in different directions. You would load into you would walk into, like, say, a shop, and then when you left the shop, you would exit a different shop. Some people, just the sky was so graphically intensive, you couldn't look up or your game would crash. So you would have to turn off the sky. And if you look at the Excito pictures that they put on the inside flap of this box, you'll notice that although it looks like there's stuff going on, there's really not a whole lot going on in here. For example, they're just standing there in that picture. She's just standing there holding a gun in that picture. She's just attacking a very low mob in that picture. In front of a rock, though.
But this one is swimming.
Oh, yes, he's swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember swimming.
That
That's
looks
right.
exciting.
That's right. I'm glad they kept the good mechanics in the modern MMOs. I mean, swimming is a very important skill.
Oh, yeah.
Something to note about this game is there were 200 levels. Now, let's say you wanted to use a specific function. You wanted to, say, teleport yourself through the internet. Well, you had to have a specific skill for that. Let's say that you wanted to... I was a bureaucrat. A bureaucrat was sort of like a bard in EverQuest was like in Anarchy Online.
Okay.
And you had to make sure that you did not fuck up your skills, because if you put your skills into the wrong thing, your character would be weak as hell by level 80. So it's like, well, better start again. But I actually had some really good mentors. I ended up finding two gentlemen who, and gentlemen, if anyone out there remembers Dolores, it's me. Track me down, find me. Okay. Anyway, enough creepiness. So I played with these gentlemen, and they taught me how to play a bureaucrat very well. Bureaucrats got to have their own bots, which was kind of neat. They eventually got their own ninja bot. But bureaucrats also had class-specific items. One of them being a coffee maker, okay, that would make cups of coffee for free that you could hand out to anyone. That would increase their attack speed.
What a nice character.
I know, right? So it's like, I just brew like 9 cups of coffee, and suddenly I've made all these friends because they're getting...
You're like a mobile Starbucks barista.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
And I would intentionally get their name wrong every single time.
Oh, I wouldn't blame you.
The immersion, right? Also, the bureaucrat had their own briefcase. Briefcases were really neat for that time because, I mean, hey, briefcase. Everyone else had not briefcases. So that was actually quite an improvement.
Okay.
And now, another thing a bureaucrat had. This one was great, okay? The bureaucrat had a bow tie that was edible in case of emergencies.
Whoa.
Yeah, so, you just happen to get a little hungry, and you're like, oh gosh, what am I going to eat? And
futuristic edible creations.
I forgot that I had a tie on. Fresh was better in life. With bureaucratic tie, you're alive.
Okay. So you sounds like the Matrix a little bit. So you're saying that you can plug yourself in and go over the internet.
Yeah.
With your edible tie in your briefcase and the making coffee out of wherever on your body.
Absolutely. I had a blast. Anyone who is interested in Anarchy Online right now, they've made it a lot more user friendly. It's free to play, and the options that you can pay for don't really hinder too much on the free-to-play game. So it's not like you're getting withheld anything fun by not paying for it. By paying for it, there's a whole nother game that you basically just use your character into from the free game, which is well worth it. I won't spoil it, but you'll have a lot of fun if you do. But definitely give it a try. It has a brand new newbie area. It's a lot more stable on current machines. And there's a lot more to do. They've really balanced out the game.
Well, make sure your bodies are ready, because I didn't play this game until 2010, and I found it to be a little complicated than the usual MMO. When did you get into this?
I actually got into this right around EverQuest came out, and the problem was, even though I got it as a birthday gift from my uncle, my computer could not support it even after the upgrade, and even then there really wasn't a whole lot to do.
That's a bummer.
It was a very boring game. There was maybe a couple dungeons, and but it's something interesting. If you're actually really good at math, like let's say you're good at math equations. I am terrible at math equations, okay, but the two gentlemen that I played with, they knew their math, okay? And if you play the trader class, you can buff specific skills, and you can put in your body what's known as implants, and they will implant the skills pertinent to whichever class that you picked. So if you were good at math, you could buff scientific evaluation, or I don't think that's an actual skill, but okay, so you could buff science, okay, and then you would have enough science to implant a hand implant. That hand implant would give you a sub boost to a different skill, which you would then do a boost to that skill and get yourself an eye implant, and then that one would give you a sub boost to another skill, and you would boost that one and then put in this implant, but then you would take out the other first implant and swap it out with a new hand implant, and then you could put in a head implant, and then you would take that head implant and eventually you could equip a stronger gun.
Whoa.
So you could be, say, level 80 and equip a level 160 gun, and as long as you remember not to de-equip the gun, you actually were really powerful, and it made the game a lot easier. So math geeks, you definitely have a place in all of our hearts in Anarchy Online.
I'd say. How long did you play this game for? Did you get into the expansions and stuff like that afterward, or?
The expansion was to pay for, but the original game, the original concept, the player versus player, which is also very balanced, that worked out really well too. And I've actually played this much more. Let me start again, okay? I've actually played this a few years after they introduced the newbie zone, the new areas. And with the gentleman who knew math, I actually had a lot of fun with it. And there's always something to do. There's always a part that you can get. There's always somebody you can assassin. You can actually tailor your own quests. And there's also a new function where you can actually build your own cities. And your cities actually get invaded by aliens, which is actually a really cool effect because the saucers are so large they blotch out the sky.
Yeah.
And you know a city is about to get its shit fucked up if you see a UFO hovering overhead. And if you don't have your clan members on in time, they will completely just ruin your city's day. But having your own city, you can have your own shops. You can decorate. You can get clan exclusive items. And aside from the alien invasions, they've really added a lot more to the game.
Wow. So how big was the map?
You know, the map was actually, it was really large, really extensive, but the problem was there was almost nowhere to go. I mean, you could go in one direction and not hit anything except maybe little decorative outposts and that sort of thing that might be selling clothes. It was
barren. It's like right after you leave Phoenix, which is here, there's nothingness for hours.
It's absolute nothingness. And
besides Camelot.
There was actually an exploit in order to get there was a vehicle in the game that was actually kind of hard to get. It was very expensive. It cost a couple million. But there was a very, very cheap version, like say the level 1 version of it. Mm-hmm. It increased your running speed and made you fly. I did the quote-unquote in the air. But it increased your running speed, made you fly. And so what ended up happening was if you were in a vehicle shop and you found this really cheap transportation device, you would make a dummy character. You would make a new account since they're free and just log them in and keep them sitting there in that shop. And then that way, since the instance is there, since the instance is random anytime somebody enters, mm-hmm. the instance will never change because that character that created the instance that has the cheap items is in there. So other people can walk in and they can buy the cheap transportation device as well. And I think it was like 1.3 million, but it was well worth the investment because you wouldn't pay like 5 million more just to walk 20 steps faster at a time.
That is an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So that was actually kind of neat, and you could do that to reserve really powerful weapons and that sort of thing.
Of course, yeah. Did they have fast travel when the game first came out, or was that implemented later? I remember when I played it, a few years ago, that I think there was fast travel in it, right?
That's a good question. I think there was a class called the the trader or the they were basically a jack of all trades class.
Okay.
And what they did was it was really more about exploring. It's kind of like the journeyman class in NetHack. Like they weren't really designed to get that very far and be that very useful in the end game, but be able to explore. And I believe that they did have things that would make you run faster. I could be wrong though. But
I can't remember myself.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about Ultima Online earlier, and you were talking about some crazy things. What were some crazy things in Anarchy Online that either you experienced or you heard about that you think would be worthwhile to share?
Oh my gosh. Boy, that is a tough one.
I don't mean to get you hung up.
There was one thing. You could actually get really, really high-level implants if you had a pet. Okay, and what you could do is there were quest boxes, I guess you could say. There were these control panels where you would find people who would hire you. And that would be your quest. You would get so much gold or whatever it's called, and then they would give you an item, usually an implant, or sometimes it would be a health kit, but most people wanted implants. So you could pick an extremely high item. You would pick a mission in where you needed to find somebody, and when you picked the high-level mission, you would just have your pet kite the enemies. So like, the pet would attack an enemy. You would watch on radar where your pet was going. You would tell your pet to follow you, and then it would pull the enemy away from that area, kill your pet, but it would just stand there. So by doing that, you could get to the person that you needed to and get an 80 level item when you're not actually supposed to at that level, all on your own. So that was kind of fun. Of course, you still need a math wizard to get it implanted in you. But really, I'd say the worst times of Anarchy Online was when it first came out, because there was really not a whole lot of immersion. You could get lost in the desert. And there were no GMs, there was no help or call button. So if you worked on a character, you would get lost out there. You were effed.
Wild
absolutely
West.
Effed. Yeah. So
it was wild. Funcom has definitely made some improvements over the years, though.
Yeah. Like, haven't they've done something else lately? Have they not?
What was the one expansion that came out I last heard about? Was Shadowlands or something like that?
That's right, Shadowlands. Yeah, without giving away too much, Shadowlands is sort of like the Tower of Zod. Is it Zod from Final Fantasy VI? Where the higher you get, the harder the enemies get,
right?
And you see how far you can get basically, and the further you get, the better items that you get. And if your character dies, then you go back to the beginning. So it's kind of like it's kind of like the classic see how far you can get until you die inevitability, like Missile Commander, Pac-Man.
Right. Okay. So how long did you spend playing this game before you moved on? Or you still go back to it today?
Oh my gosh. If there was a game that I could actually go back to, it would either be Ultima Online, or it would be Wizard 101. And Wizard 101 is the game that you love to hate. But that's for another day.
Right. Well, boot up that DOS box and you can play up Ultima Online maybe. Or maybe not. They probably took down the servers,
absolutely. Right? Well, no, actually Ultima Online is free to play right now.
Okay.
I highly recommend Hybrid if you're looking to experience the good old days a little more. And then there's some other ones, like you can actually pick monsters. You could be a monster. These are other servers, of course, not Hybrid.
Yeah.
But there are other much more popular ones out there.
Ultima
Online has a lot going for it in the free-to-play community right now.
That's great. So it's still alive, unlike my City of Heroes. I'm still praying.
Give it time. Give it time.
Oh, yeah. So this was it. We had our our little collection of games,
here.
shindig of
Powwow.
great games, and there's still a giant blue box full of them over.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's much more time to look into it into another episode.
Definitely.
What do you guys think? I'm dying to know what you think. Did you find this at all interesting, obscure games, or is there a much more specific subject that you would like to know more about? We were thinking about MMO experiences. Maybe you have something very funny that happened, or something very exploitive that I think interested parties would like to know more about. Or would you like to know more about, say, the economics of rare games and what makes a game rare or not?
She is just so knowledgeable, folks. Yes, definitely. Tweet to us at Sphinx Gamer. It's you want to put that underscore between the Sphinx and the Gamer there. Look for the logo. You can also hashtag Sphinx Gamer Podcast as well. Tweet to us your questions and comments, and we'll read them on the show. And of course, we appreciate that a whole lot. Look for the pictures as well of what we discussed today. Amazing box art and stuff like that. You'll find that on the post on the website.
Yep, I'm even going to throw in a few extra pictures, just pretty pictures of different box arts that you may find familiar. But look for those bonus pictures. You'll really like them.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Look forward to us. New episodes every Thursday, and also follow us on Twitter to get the latest updates to the site, new articles and things like that, including podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and
if it isn't Sphinx, it stinks.
Ooh, all right. Later on, folks.